Some people argue, some people fight, some people send long emotional messages, but some people just disappear. No warning, no explanation, no drama. One day they're there, the next day they're gone. And the scary part? They don't come back. Why do they do that? Is it ego? Is it pain? Is it strength? Or is it something deeper? Today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who cut others off silently. And trust me, the last habit is the most important one. If you miss it, you'll completely misunderstand this type of person. Let's get into it. Cutting someone off silently isn't random. It's not emotional weakness. It's not always immaturity. And it's definitely not always cold-hearted. In many cases, it's a calculated psychological decision. These people don't explode. They don't beg. They don't chase closure. They observe. They process. And then they detach. But what's going on inside their mind? Let's break it down. 1. They've already processed the pain. Here's something most people don't realize. By the time they cut you off, they've already tried to understand, tried to be patient, tried to ignore red flags, tried to fix things silently. And while you thought everything was fine, they were slowly emotionally detaching. See, silent cutters don't act in the heat of the moment. They act after long internal processing. When they leave, it's not impulsive, it's final. And that's what makes it powerful. 2. They value peace over drama. Some people need confrontation, but silent cutters, they're different. They don't want chaos. They don't want arguments. They don't want to prove a point. They believe this: if I have to explain why you hurt me, you probably won't understand anyway. So instead of fighting for validation, they choose peace. They remove themselves quietly, not because they don't care, but because their mental health matters more. And that level of emotional control, that's strength. 3. They don't beg for respect. Here's a big one. People who cut others off silently usually have strong internal boundaries. They might not talk about them, they might not announce them, but they have them. And when those boundaries are crossed repeatedly, they don't threaten, they don't warn, they don't say, "This is your last chance." They simply adjust access, silently, because they believe, if I have to ask for basic respect, it's already too late. That mindset changes everything. 4. They understand patterns. Silent cutters are observers. They notice patterns. Not one mistake, not one bad day. Patterns. Repeated disrespect, repeated inconsistency, repeated emotional manipulation. And once the pattern becomes clear, they stop hoping. They stop expecting change. And once hope dies, attachment dies with it. That's when the silent exit happens. 5. They've learned from past betrayal. Many people who cut others off silently didn't start that way. They used to explain. They used to fight for relationships. They used to over-communicate. But experience taught them something powerful. Not everyone deserves closure. Not everyone values explanations. Not everyone changes. So they adapted. They learned that protecting their energy is more important than proving their point. And that lesson? It changes how they move forever. 6. They detach emotionally before physically. This is where it gets deep. When someone cuts you off silently, the physical distance is the last step. The emotional detachment happened weeks, sometimes months, before that. They stopped reacting, stopped expecting, stopped investing. But they didn't announce it. Why? Because once they emotionally check out, they're already preparing for life without you. By the time they leave, they've already accepted the loss. That's why they don't look back. 7. The most important habit. They choose self-respect over attachment. This is the one you can't miss. If you misunderstand this, you misunderstand everything. Silent cutters don't leave because they don't care. They leave because they care about themselves. They understand something most people struggle with. Attachment can make you tolerate disrespect. And once they see that happening, they choose self-respect. Every time. Even if it hurts, even if they miss you, even if they still care. They will choose dignity over dependency. And that decision? That's not weakness. That's power. Why this matters to you. Now here's the real question. What can you learn from this? After watching this video, you'll understand two powerful things. First, if someone cut you off silently, it wasn't random. There were signs, there were patterns, there was emotional buildup. Second, you can develop this strength too. Not to become cold, not to ghost people unfairly, but to stop tolerating what drains you, to stop begging for what should be basic, to stop explaining your worth to people who don't see it. Conclusion. People who cut others off silently aren't heartless. They're disciplined. They've mastered emotional control. They've mastered detachment. They've mastered boundaries. And most importantly, they've learned that peace is expensive, and they refuse to let anyone make it cheap. So the next time someone disappears quietly, don't just call them cold. Ask yourself, what did they tolerate before they left? And if you're someone who struggles to walk away, maybe it's time to build that strength. Not silence out of ego, but silence out of self-respect. Because at the end of the day, the strongest move isn't always loud. Sometimes, the strongest move is walking away without saying a word.